And as you heard, she has
Yeah.
a very sweet voice, calm spirit, as I said. She's a therapist I recommend. So yeah, watu twende tupone roho na tupone akili.
Hello and welcome to the Magnetica podcast. This is a podcast by two 20-something friends, Kim and Phyll. We catch whatever life throws at us and try to make sense of it by sharing our thoughts and opinions. Magnetica will be full of great moments, so many oops, ifs, laughters, and tears of maneuvering life as young African women. If you want to have a great time and share in our experiment, tag along. Let's journey on together.
Hi guys, how have you been doing? How is your week? How you feeling? My name is Miss Phyll, and as always, welcome to the Magnetica podcast. This is a safe space for every 20-something. I personally love to be here. I always look forward to the amazing conversations. And first of all, I want to say thank you for your feedback on our last episode on Laughtings and all the other episodes that have been today. I was not able to get the comments and read them before, but I promise you in the next episode that we will do with Kim, we will sample your comments and give a shout out to specific people. But thank you so much for following us on our YouTube channel, our Instagram, and thank you for making sure that I'm not here talking by myself all the time. It's always amazing to know that there is a community and there are people that care to listen and share their feedback. And today we're going to have an amazing conversation. Personally, I've been looking forward to this conversation for a while since the year started together with Kim. We've been looking forward to bring a guest who is going to talk about the things that we're going to share. And I'm excited because it was quite a coincidence. It's with someone that I've just gotten to newly know. I can say she's someone who is going to inspire, uplift, and someone who just has a good spirit. The first time I met her, what was my first impression? She looks like she's a serious person, meaning that she's not an approachable, but someone who knows what she wants. She has that confidence and she has a very calming spirit. Immediately she talks, you just feel like, I just want to be her friend. Without further ado, JoyEve, welcome to the Magnetica podcast.
Hey, Phil. Oh, thank you so much for inviting me for your podcast. I'm really honored and humbled for you for maybe the comments that you've mentioned. I'm really, really humbled. Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, so introduce
Yeah,
yourself. You've already said your name. Tell us
I
what you
am.
do, who you are. I normally don't like saying those things. I like people introducing themselves so that they can feel free to share anything they like.
Yeah. All right. Okay. So, basically, my name is JoyEve. Um, Many call me Chesed. I'm a therapist with two counseling firms. One is called B&M Safe Zone, and another is called Good News Mental Space. So they are both mental health spaces that have been operating currently. So Good News is majorly based in Kenya, and B&M is a virtual counseling firm that majorly operates mostly in Kenya also, but only virtually and also globally. So that's I don't know. I don't know if I should say any other thing. Maybe you should guide me.
Okay, I think that's a good
Yeah.
introduction. Maybe you can tell us,
Yeah.
um,
Mm-hmm.
this is just random. What
Okay.
what is your favorite hobby? Like, what do you do when you're not working?
Oh wow. I think when I'm not necessarily working, I think I basically I think I chose a career that's majorly very close to my heart. So I'm a person who really, really loves being around people. All right. So I normally call myself a person who very much values people. So most of the time when I'm not necessarily working, I'm actually either mentoring somebody or just having fun with people, majorly most of the time surrounded with people. But other times I'm eating.
We got
Other
to
times I'm
love food.
eating. Yeah. Or sleeping. I actually sleep really early, like by 8 p.m. I'm normally asleep.
What? I thought I
So
sleep very
yeah,
early. So what time do you wake up? If you sleep at 8?
I wake up. I wake up at, okay, sometimes most of the times latest, I wake up at, I can wake up at 5, I can wake up at 4, because of the operations. Most of the times one is needed to really wake up early. So the earliest I normally wake up is 5 or 4, but latest should be at least 6. So because of the different sessions, a therapist needs to be always fresh for the next day.
I agree. And we are recording this podcast at 6:18 p.m. in Kenya, and Eve does not look tired after a long day of doing therapy. I was just telling her that she looks fresh as ever. I think sleeping early does the trick.
Yeah, I mean, like, sometimes it can be overwhelming, but sometimes I just say, like I mentioned, maybe it's just grace.
Yeah.
Hey, grace. It's just a Samatoni grace anyway. I actually, somebody doesn't normally know until somebody else tells them, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so why did you choose to be a therapist? I find it a very interesting line of work, becoming a therapist.
Yeah.
Why did you choose?
Mm-hmm.
Like at what age did you realize I want to be a therapist? Did you accidentally come across it? Is it something you really desired to do? Tell us about that.
So being a therapist started very early when I was actually in high school. So I remember very well I wanted to I just wanted to do a bit of leadership, and I think that was around when I was in like Form 3. So somebody was leading a particular group, a prayer group, which I really admired to be part of. So I actually told her that I would really like to know how it would be to to actually like be part of that group, because I really admired the person. So by the time she left school, she left me as the leader of that group. So one of the things I realized that people really liked coming to just tell me the things that they were going through, and I would find myself just listening and just being there for them. And I was like, I can't help it but just, I really enjoy just being there for these people. And I think when I told my mom is a millennial, so she doesn't necessarily believe in doctor careers, lawyer careers. She's really, really into talent, gifting. So if you're gifted at a particular place, please go to that gifting. So after she noticed that I'm really good at also talking to crowds, like I would always have something that would inspire people. She mentioned, why don't I choose a career around that line? And then I basically just saw I can do psychology. So I just went to campus and to a private school, and I did a therapy or counseling psychology.
Wow. Interesting how you came across
Yeah,
that career. And I'm glad that your mom was very supportive, which makes it
that's
easier for any
supportive.
child. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I'm really glad. I'm so glad because she's really nurtured us in giftings. Even if she's very strict, if you start a project, you have to finish it. You don't start a singing project and then you just leave it like that. Oh, I'm tired. And someone, no, you cannot be tired. Life cannot allow you to get tired. You have to go through it. But yeah, we've failed over time. But I think life has a way of just positioning you where you need to be, and I believe where I am is where I actually need to be and having most of the impact that I am having.
Yeah. The first time I came
Mm-hmm.
across psychology was in campus when it was a unit in class. And I
Mm-hmm.
really enjoyed that class. And I think the reason why
Yeah.
I personally enjoyed the class was
Yeah.
because it was not abstract. Like I felt like what we were being taught is
Mm-hmm.
everyday things, like everyday things,
Yeah,
like
definitely.
yeah, like things that you experience. So I enjoyed that class. I wished
Mm,
that it was like 2 units, like we do it this semester and we do another one, but unfortunately it had to end. But I think
mm,
at that point I became aware of
yeah,
psychology.
yeah.
And one of the
Mm,
fears, or rather the myths that we would have with my classmates would be like,
yeah.
you know, people who study
Mm.
psychology, they look like they can read your mind.
No, I don't
So
know
let
why
me ask
people
you,
get into
JoyEve, can
that.
you read my mind right now?
Yeah. I mean, like, goodness, I'm just human. I can't read your mind. But most of the times, let me just clarify, I can read your mind by reading your behavior.
Ah,
So if you're not necessary, if I don't understand how you are as a person and your behavior, it can be tough to understand your thinking and your thought process. So basically, it's not that the therapist can actually necessarily read your mind, but I can gauge what you're thinking by how you behave. That's how I'm able to actually like help people in therapy. So you give me some of the things that have happened in your life, how you respond to it, then I can actually gauge how you're thinking. And so that I know, do I need to encourage you? Do I need to maybe refer you to a particular thing?
okay. So we hear people say, go to therapy
Yeah, so
all the
that's
time.
yeah.
Wanda, I think we are
Mm-hmm.
using that
Yeah,
term
yeah.
very wrongly. Like, I have a problem. You need to go for
Yeah.
therapy. I broke up with my boyfriend. You need to go for therapy. I did this. You need to go for
Yeah,
therapy. Someone died. I
yeah.
lost someone. You need to go for therapy. So what is this
Yeah.
therapy? Like, what is therapy? In very like simple terms, you can explain to us. What is therapy?
All right, so basically, therapy is a safe place that's normally created by an individual who is majorly termed as a professional, who creates the space to give an individual who might be having maybe a life crisis and may need assistance. So the professional has the ability to help the person overcome the situation or just give a safe place where the person can be able to you know, be enabled to be able to either make their own decision or just overcome whatever they need to overcome. So basically, therapy is a safe place, but now it's also conducted by a person who's professional and who is more like a friend and who's skilled in assisting the person to be able to navigate and overcome whatever situation they are going through.
Yeah. I think it's important that you
Yeah.
said it's a safe space because
Yeah,
I
definitely.
think the
Yeah.
importance of going for therapy, like if I was to go for therapy, I
Yeah,
would
yeah.
want a safe space because I think
Mhm.
the reason why we would primarily want to go for therapy is a place where there's no judgment, right?
Yeah, definitely. It's in therapy, it's your right to not be judged. So anybody, because I think one of the things you're told you're human. So first of all, you're informed that you won't be judged, and also you shouldn't be judging yourself. So we come from a place that you're human, and whatever you're going through is it has happened because of circumstances. So how can we navigate through and remove you from that mud or just help you get more encouragement?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So who should go for therapy then? Like I said earlier, we're just told go for therapy. You need therapy. Everybody needs a therapist, especially like in this current
Mhm.
time and age. Who should go for
Yeah.
therapy?
Or anybody can come. Anybody should go to therapy. But I normally tell people one of the things that we normally have as a therapeutic environment is that therapy is consensual. Like, you need to be able to want to be there, but first you need to be able to know the benefits. So the therapy is a safe place, and it's not necessarily structured. So you can't necessarily say it's for a specific individual. It's very custom. There are people who just come to just have a friend, have a perspective, to just have a place to rant in a space where they know they will not be judged, Or other people just come for guidance. Other people just come to, feel accepted, or heal. Other people just want different things. So it's not necessarily for specific, but it's for anybody who actually wants a safe place. So I think life just provides professionals who can be able to supply what not so many people can be able to give to an individual, and that's a safe place, and a person who can understand. Yeah.
I like the fact that you said anybody can go to therapy, because I feel therapy has been made to look so negative in such a way. For instance, if I would just tell my friends, I'm seeing a therapist, everybody would be like, what's wrong with her? Like, like there's so much judgment. People will think the most obscene of things. And sometimes I know, like, victims of abuse need therapy. There are those circumstances that when you face in life, you obviously need a therapist. But I like the fact that you say that anyone can go for therapy, because I feel, especially for young people, 20 somethings, I don't know any in my life, the people who are close to me and I know who have gone for therapy. Mostly it's my younger friends who are going to get married. So them, they usually go for that. It's called couples therapy. They only go together and then you're cancelled because you're about to make the biggest decision in your life. But and then maybe people who've gone through like very tough life situations. But other than that, I've not had any of my friends saying, I'm so overwhelmed, I need to go for therapy. Like, I don't know why there's so much negative, but maybe this next question will help us to understand how does therapy help someone? Because I feel if I understand how therapy is important, then I will be able to look at it from a positive side and not just think that therapy is for certain people who've experienced etc. It's not maybe for especially young people. Yeah. So how does going for therapy help someone?
All right. So I think basically maybe I should maybe explain to you who a therapist is, and then you can be able like to understand why somebody might need therapy.
Yeah.
So a therapist is a person who's already trained, who has a basic understanding of how the mind works and how having a particular thought process is actually affecting somebody's emotions and eventually affecting somebody's behavior. So a therapist is in a position to be able to give you like a soundboard, because what happens with life is pretty hard, and not everyone knows how to figure it out. But a person who is trained well on how your mind, how beliefs affects your thinking and emotions and your behavior can help you trace maybe why sometimes you basically are struggling in the most minute things, sometimes like behavior, like relationships, why maybe you're not maybe getting a job, or maybe why you have specific emotions, because you can't necessarily say everybody is perfect. You have specific issues in your life that are not necessarily working out, and so you may actually need somebody to actually like guide you on the best way to actually be the best version of yourself, and just guide you, not necessarily make the decision for you, but just give you like an awareness. When you have an awareness of what's happening, you're able now to know what are the best steps that work for you to be able to be the best version of yourself. So I don't know if I've answered that question.
Yeah, I think you've answered. You've answered
Yeah,
it.
yeah. But you don't have to go for therapy, but it really depends with you as an individual. I think sometimes young people should actually sit down just as an individual and ask yourself, am I really being real with myself? And in what situations are my in what issues do I feel like I'm actually not thriving, and I'm not getting answers. So a therapist is able to help you trace. It's like a friend who's but professional and able to help you trace your thoughts. Maybe the reason why you're not in a relationship is because maybe you feel unworthy. The reason why you're not receiving love is because somebody just told you are not worthy. So maybe we can deal with that thought set and maybe allow you to start thinking the right way. You don't have to have gone through trauma, but just general things, as you mentioned, psychology is just and it's for life generally.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Therapy sounds very interesting.
Yeah, it is. It is.
Yeah, it sounds very interesting. So let me
Mhm.
just say it. Like, personally, I have my fears. Like,
Mhm.
a therapist is a person. It's
Mm.
just like a doctor, right? But this is someone you're going to share your deepest, darkest
Yeah, yeah.
issues that you're struggling with in life. And especially
Mm.
trauma, abuse,
Mm. Mm.
alcoholism. Let me just mention those extreme end. How do
Mm.
you establish how does
Mm.
a therapist establish a relationship with you so that you can be able to
Mm.
open up? Because this is a stranger, like this,
Mm.
either it's someone you've been referred to. Most of the time, your therapist is not your family member or your friend,
Yes.
rarely, right?
Mm.
So how do
Yeah,
you create that
definitely.
space? Because I think that is the fear that also so many people have. Like,
Mm-hmm.
fine, I want to go to a therapist, but yo,
Yeah.
how do I start talking to this person? What's the process?
All right. So what normally happens in the beginning? So the therapist, we are normally aware that it's not. Of course, the first session CRT, somebody will like trust you immediately. But I think what happens is that the therapist assures you, he or she assures you that everything within that space stays in that space, and that they assure you that there's no form of judgment. You have autonomy. You can share what you want to share. By the way, even if you don't want to share about it, nobody is forcing you to share. It's like, as I said, it's not necessarily structured. It's a free space. So even as you go for therapy, you can choose what to share and what not to share. You know, the therapist, and most of the times with time, it doesn't happen at once immediately. There are people who take their time. So I think maybe the therapist even helps you see that she's patient or he is patient with you, and whatever you feel like you need to share and whatever you want us to work on, is that's what we are going to work on. But with time, the more you continue talking, the more you see how safe the environment is, how patient the therapist is with you, how maybe you are learning a lot, and how you notice that there's no judgment in that space. You realize there's actually no use for you to keep some things you just mention, and most of the times you just find that sense of healing. We normally know it doesn't happen at once, but pole pole too, you know.
Okay, umesikia ni pole pole.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
So
session
it's
by
normally
session,
not.
right?
Yeah, session by session, step by step. You're free, you have autonomy, you can share. Even if you're not ready to share something, we can still wait until you are. So no forcing, not pushing. It's one step at a time.
Wow. Do you sometimes
Mm.
feel like this patient, she's not talking. If she just talked, so we can get it out. I feel like therapy makes you very patient. You need to be a patient person.
So I don't know. Is there somebody who has not? There are people who've actually been very rigid, but you just be patient with them. Not everyone is the same,
Yeah.
and you allow yourself to understand them. Everyone comes with different issues, but you can't. The thing is that you're trained to be able to see people different. So it's okay if they're not ready to talk at first. Sometimes just build rapport. Like sometimes just talking about what they like. It doesn't have to start with the deep things. You just help them. Even you get to know about their day, the things they like, the current things that has happened. But with time, what happens, even most of the times, the current situations that are happening with this person, most of the times they're connected with the things that have happened in the past. So pole pole to starting with the recent issues, not issues, but just day-to-day life. But most of the times it always leads there. So I think it's also a skill to just, connect with the person. It can be tough at first, but it's just it's a skill, it's a social skill, being able to just take somebody slowly by slowly. Most of the time they'll end up talking it out, but it may not be now, the next week, the other week, but a person is very complex, so you'll always have something to talk about that will help you connect with the person. Before you know it, they've already formed a bit of trust towards you. They've felt there's no judgment, and they'll start opening up, even if it's bits by bits.
Yeah. So now that at least we've understood a bit of therapy, I know we can't understand all of it, but at least we know the importance of going for therapy and not all the negative things you've had. And this, I won't stop
Yeah.
emphasizing therapy is for everyone. Like you can just decide to see a therapist if you feel the need to. It's not for people who are insane. I'll just say it as it is. It's not for people who are insane or who
Yeah,
have
definitely.
lost it in life. Just some people who need a redirection, guidance, just as Eve mentioned. So now, I'm sure you work with so many young people, and at least you can tell us, like, what do you feel are the main issues that are affecting 20 somethings? Because our podcast is primarily for young people like me who are trying to navigate life.
Yeah.
And man, it's not easy.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yes, we've handled a lot of young people actually. And I think one of the things that I've noticed that so many young people are going through is identity, really identity crisis, And identity crisis is it's what normally causes most of every other thing. And I think majorly it's normally it comes from the environment. We've come from an environment, especially now currently, where there's a lot of a lack of empowerment for young people. Mara, there are no jobs, it's all over, like there's a I can say there's a lot of young people are really, really discouraged. And that discouragement, especially around, has really caused a lot of lack of identity. And when an individual does not have an identity, they'll definitely have work problems, they'll have relational problems, they'll have every other problem that you normally see that most young people have. Identity is actually everything. So that's what I've actually noticed. So whenever anybody comes in and maybe they've had issues with finances, issues with relationships, issues with all sorts. What we normally do is we help them identify, have a sense of identity, and most of the times after they do have an identity, all these other things start going down. So if somebody knows that they are good at doing something, and it's something sometimes just inborn, all of a sudden this person is able like to know exactly what they can actually do and the best industry to actually venture. And you find there's a good and equal distribution within that area. So if a person is going through a relational problem, then we can help them, have a better identity to know what exactly is causing constant argument or a particular kind of mindset. Why would somebody think men are like a particular way? Why do you have that expectation that a relationship has to necessarily go south every time you even enter, and constantly thinking that you'll be cheated on? Yes, I know it's there, it's a reality, but you can't live your life always in fear. So why are you constantly in fear? It's majorly an identity issue, why there are a lot of murders, like, relational murders, or it's called, crimes of passion. Yeah.
Yes.
So majorly is normally an identity issue,
Wow.
Yeah, I think,
So let me ask you, what is identity crisis? Does it mean I don't know myself? I'm confused about myself.
Mm,
Like,
mm,
what is that? Because it looks like it's
mm.
the root, and then all these other problems come about.
Yeah. So identity problem is how you define yourself. So sometimes it could be, what I normally tell people is that your emotions never lie. Your emotions is always an indicator of how you're feeling. If you're feeling bad, you're thinking bad. If you're feeling nice, it's because you're thinking nice. So if whenever you touch a particular situation and you're feeling a particular way about, a particular thing, it's actually an indicator that you're thinking wrong. And that thinking wrong is your perception or your idea or your definition of who you are, So if you think you're a particular way, that's your identity. If you're feeling a particular way whenever you see somebody, and it's an indicator of how you see yourself. Identity is just your definition or your perception of who you are and where you are, as an individual. So if we can define you right, if we can help you find who you are, and the right way to define yourself, it could be you're actually having a particular perception because you definitely just met somebody who is toxic, and that is not your fault. So now we redefine you so that you can be able like to find the right place where you need to be. Yeah.
Wow, it's getting deep.
Yeah.
You were just saying how you define yourself, and I started asking myself, Miss Phyll, how do you define yourself? And I liked
And
the fact that you say
identity is in different areas. See ati ni one
general.
clear. No.
Okay. Interesting.
Mm.
I will do the homework and see if my identity is healthy or in a crisis. Yeah.
Just aspects of your life
Mm,
and just gauge how you feel about it. If you're feeling bad about it, if you have a negative emotion coming from a particular aspect of your life, just know there's a high likelihood that you're thinking bad and that you have a wrong identity about yourself. So you may not necessarily know, and that's why the therapist is there to help you trace exactly what you're thinking, what you're feeling. They can even give you the words to be able now to put into place if you do not have them, and then you can be able to now properly. Sometimes see that uko kwa crisis, but unashanga there's one area of my life, it's just I can't seem to figure it out. So the person is able to help you. Hire, are these the words you feel like you wanted to describe how you're feeling about it? Like, yeah.
yeah. So therapy is a form of healing, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Interesting. Like right now, there are so many quotes. There are so many people who speak about healing. You need to do the inner work. You need to handle your childhood wounds. I usually ask myself, what are these child wounds they're talking about? Like, seriously. Um, one thing that I've come to understand, like watching these videos or listening to this podcast, and they talk about all these things, and I'm like, why is it that the speakers always emphasize you need to go to your childhood? I know I've skipped maybe nimeruka syllabus, but when you were talking, I just remembered that. What are you talking about?
So for me, what I normally give an analogy for most of my clients is you need to be able to see yourself in two different perspectives. So like you feel you have two people. One is the person who's actually doing the job, interacting. Right now is the adult. But so this adult is the individual who's actually experiencing where you are currently, being able to pay your bills, the adulting aspect of you. But there's the other aspect, there's the smaller aspect of you who experienced a life where you did not necessarily have a say, but you were influenced by somebody else's decisions. So this person may not necessarily have known how to handle you, but you are just in that. There are people who let me just explain so that maybe I can give examples. So this other aspect of you had a whole different environment which was controlled by others. So it could be that life that you experienced at that time under the control of others. These people didn't necessarily deal with you nicely, so they did not give you a proper identity. They were also in stress, so there's a way you were handled, or maybe there was nobody to look after you. So that aspect of your life was not necessarily treated well. So what happens with that when you don't deal with what actually happened in that time when you were under somebody else's control? Most of the times is that those wounds that happen that you didn't have control over, they affect the bigger individual. So this bigger individual is trying to move on. That's why I normally tell, like, on a tried relationship, it's you can't seem to move on because this part of you is afraid, is fearful, and sometimes I normally ask people, what exactly are you afraid of? Are you afraid of this individual, or are you afraid of your father? And sometimes they are not aware. Are you dating your father, or are you dating a partner?
Eish. Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Or are you looking for a partner? Because the way you are telling me you want to be loved, it's only a father can love a child. But when you're in a relationship, it's an equal thing,
Yeah.
Or a man, are you looking for your mother, or are you looking for a woman to be your partner, or a child to control? And then you go back and understand why would somebody act a particular way. But there are others who had such a wonderful childhood, the parents were aware, they had good parenting skills, and when they grow up, they barely have a lot of issues when it comes to life issues, maybe kidogo, but it's something because they've experienced now in this environment where they're in control. But most of us, especially in African community where strictness, not so many parents were aware, or they were not so good at proper parenting. Most of Africans have actually not been treated so well, and bringing somebody into that awareness is work. It's not easy for them to actually face it, but the time somebody faces it, they become more aware, and they give themselves the space to heal and become better.
Yeah.
Wow, that's a lot.
I know it's a lot to unpack, but I'm so happy we touched on that because it has also helped me to answer a lot of questions, especially the question you asked, are you dating your father or are you dating your mother? Wow. I'm just like, I've never thought about it like that, but now I understand why speakers say why you need to address your child wounds. Me, I'm like, nilipita childhood. What are you saying, bro? But now I get it. I understand. So now, right? We've talked about identity, one of the root cause that affects so many young people. And maybe
Yeah.
touch on the issue of relationships. And there's so much that our parents or the older generation talk about. And they keep saying, this generation cannot just handle being in a relationship. That you're in a relationship today, tomorrow you're in another one, then you're in another one, or today you're in a relationship, and then tomorrow you guys have decided, let's get married. I don't know, like the Gen Zs and the late millennials who are closer to the Gen Zs, we keep hearing this thing of, you guys just can't seem to handle relationships. You've just decided you're not going to mature up and you want to, like have relations with each other. And especially when it comes to friendship in adulthood and when it comes to romantic relationships. Like you find there is a lot that it exposes you to, and you're like, personally, I'm like, I'm done. But then when I go to relatives, they're like, Apana, you're not supposed to say you're done. You're supposed to find the root cause of the problem. But I'm like, we've tried, but I'm done. But and then you find that you're not the only one. It's like everyone all of a sudden is giving up on relationships, and then our parents are like, yeah, ni watu mjui kenye mnataka, So why is it that we can't seem to get it right in friendships? We can't seem to get it right with the people that we love? As young,
I think one of the things I've come to understand is really most of the things that we have, especially interaction, sometimes it comes with skill. Parenting is a skill, sometimes relationship is a skill. Being able to know, it's not just about the feelings that you have in a relationship, it's also how you honestly handle the other person, So, and also expectation. There's a lot of things that come with the relationship, and also your condition as an individual. So you can go into a relationship and you are not fine in yourself. You already have this perception, especially because the environment will change. Honestly, because of so many things happening there, there's a lot of discouragement, as I said. And you as an individual going into a relationship, which is not perfect, but then unaenda expect perfection. Una expect the other person to become this God who's supposed to, become
save
your
you.
save you. Surya, let's put person is as I'm just, a human being to kamimi is being able to learn how to interact with another human being, learning how to be gracious, learning how to communicate, simple things, learning how to understand them and accept them, the way you'd want them to understand you and accept you. You know very well you have your own flaws. And so you want this other person to also accept you. Why are you
Not
having
accepting?
Unasema hapana, me I want God. Okay, fine, enda ukae mbinguni. No, it can't work out like that. You need to be able to, learn how to live with the other person. But then there are different circumstances. Kuna, kuna venye you can actually be in a bad relationship. So you akunanga excuse,
Yeah.
But in a relationship, zingine, you basically, if the person is just another human being, it's just a matter of learning how to live with another person, community. Don't stop having all these God expectations, just seek God, what only God can do, and human beings, watch out a human being, and then it becomes more easy. Don't look to a man as if they are God. They're not. Otherwise, you'll always seek a sorrow, because nobody is perfect. Nobody has that perfection, And I think the thing is that hakuna hizo forums zenye zina normalize hizi vitu, so unaingia tu ukiexpect, unaingia tu ukiexpect ile discouragement yenye umepewa huko nje, other than actually having people who will mentor you, because there are no, you're supposed to be mentored by your parents, but also hata wao labda hata hawajui kunavigate hizi vitu. Umekaa ukiona a lot of abuse and everything, so you don't want to experience what you've seen or what you've seen others experience. So unaona afadhali kukaa peke yangu,
I'm single.
Yeah.
What is that song of? Niko single. Na enjoy. Okay, wow. Interesting.
I mean, relationship is diverse. It's
Yeah,
diverse.
yeah. I feel
But
like
it's normally an individual, so you need to be able to understand things. You need to be able to know how to interact with another person,
yeah, we need to have more compassion. Definitely. When we're interacting with our friends and that close person that you're hoping to spend the rest of your life with, or are already spending your life with if you're already married. Wow, I have loved this conversation. So last question, how can someone live a balanced life? Because I know therapy is not forever. You come, you have like a few therapy sessions. Sometimes some people will come for therapy because they were recommended for by a doctor. Sometimes someone will come for therapy because they have noticed maybe they have some issues they need to address in their lives. So after therapy is done, Najwa, you as JoyEve, you've done your part. How can someone continue living, let's say, a balanced life as a young person?
All right. So I think one of the things that happens with with therapy. So I think one of the things that therapists help you know is that you're just human and life is not a destination, it's a journey. So you can't necessarily think it's nihivo. So you need to be able to know that it's a journey and being able to understand that you need to constantly give yourself grace. Grace ni, that ujipatie tu, kuwe kind to yourself, and know that some things may not necessarily be all straight. Sometimes you'll have low moments, sometimes you have high moments. But I think at the end of the day is being able to know how to encourage yourself in those moments and not beat yourself too much when you're unable to handle specific things. There are things that you can handle, there are things you cannot, and it's okay, and being able to just one step at a time. What you can handle, take up. What you cannot handle, leave it, or also learn from it, or also ask other people to actually it's called what, teach you how to do things better. Kitu yenye huwezi wachane tu nayo, being able to know that it's a journey, it's not a destination. So you're constantly being kind to yourself, constantly encouraging yourself, constantly being patient with yourself, constantly learning about yourself, constantly getting coping mechanisms. And I think what happens is that the therapist gives you coping mechanisms and then you constantly apply them as you move on, like that.
All right. Wow. I told you guys it will be an inspiring episode. I said it. I'm already inspired. I like this. Yeah, it's a good episode. So now, JoyEve, do therapists need therapy? Like I will come as a patient, I will unpack all these things to you. Where do you go to? Where do you guys go to, psychologists and therapists? Man, I feel like you guys taking a lot.
So a therapist is mandated to have constant supervision. So even as a counseling firm, we normally have peer supervision and individual supervision. So a therapist needs to constantly debunk. So for even a therapist goes for therapy, then it's a must. You have to go for supervision because you have to also be reminded When you listen to some situations, you have to be brought back to also understand them, and you also have to debunk your own things. Because even, see, I'm also human. See, I also go through stuff myself. It's not that life doesn't only affects others and not the therapist. No, it's just that I've gone to school and
Yeah.
I've gained skills. So I know I am conscious about the things I've experienced even in childhood, because I've been given information. I know how these things look like, and I'm aware, and yeah, where this and this happened. So even when I go to therapy, I know exactly what to nini. I know what to address. I know, like, I don't know if I'm
Yeah, you answered the
yeah.
question because last week I had an interview with a doctor, and I was asking,
Yeah,
we were talking about mental health and how
yeah,
the importance. She was talking about how it's important even for doctors to unwind and
yeah.
also just
Mm,
have mental health
mm,
vision where they can go and talk. And that's why
yeah,
I've also been like, in your field, it's also medicine, but behavioral science.
mm,
I was like, yeah,
yeah.
let me also ask you that question because, man,
Mhm.
someone can come and pour a lot, a lot.
Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah, and I like
Yeah.
that you mentioned that, yeah, therapists are also humans because I think we think
Yeah.
you guys are superhuman that can read our minds. At least today we've
Oh,
known.
no, just humans.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So, where can people reach you? We'll definitely have you back again and talk about
Yeah.
maybe a particular issue. I have loved this conversation and the fact that you've even touched on two issues that really affect people, not just young people, identity and relationships. You're relational beings.
Mhm. That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So where can people
Mhm.
get you if they want to book a therapy session? At what age do you start your therapy sessions? Is it open for all genders? Just tell us about that.
So therapy is open to all genders. We also do therapy for children, from the age of, I think, 3. 3 is the most cognitive. I think the child is aware of the environment. So we do from 3 all the way to all ages. So we do have therapists who are of different ages, who are within 20s, who are within 40s, 50s, 60s. So definitely, yes, we handle all. So for me, I normally have a social media page, Instagram, at JoyEve Chesed. So, and also you can get me in the two firms, B&M Safe Zone and also Good News Mental Space if you're a Christian. So for B&M, it's for everyone. So you can also get me in those channels. Yeah.
Okay, don't worry, guys. I will ask JoyEve to share her Instagram pages and wherever she is at. And then we'll link it
Yeah.
in the description of the podcast so that if you want to see a therapist, you can actually
Mm,
go to her. And as you heard, she has
yeah.
a very sweet voice, calm spirit, as I said. She's a therapist I recommend. So yeah, watu twende tupone roho na tupone akili.
Oh my God.
Tushakula balanced diet. We are a
Hey.
holistic human being.
Yes, that's true. That's true, Phil. That's true.
Yeah.
Sometimes you
So
have to teach you how to have a particular voice, but kuna voice yenye kwanga with friends huko nje.
yeah. Kuna
So I
voice
think Phil is
kazi.
I think I don't know if you actually met my friendship voice. I think when we first met.
Uh-huh. No.
I don't know. Really, I was still the same. I still use the same calmness.
Yeah. Uh, yes. I think so. Valentine is louder and bubblier. So
Yeah.
I still feel like you're a bit calm. She's the energy of the house. And then you're the calm one.
Okay.
Me, I think I'm like water. Naweza kuwa any. Leo naweza.
Yeah.
I can just anytime I can be any. But
Yeah,
thank you so much for coming on the podcast. This was a
yeah,
lovely conversation. Thank
thank you so
you.
much.
Yes,
Such a pleasure to be here. Thank you so much, Phil.
you're welcome. And thank you guys for listening. If you have any questions about therapy, about mental health, as I've said earlier, I'm gonna link her description and you can always write to me. I will respond on our social media pages, Instagram, and we're also on TikTok. Amazing. We're also on TikTok. We have one video on TikTok. So please go and check it out. Magnetica on TikTok and on YouTube. So, and also can also reach me on my WhatsApp number. Don't take it for granted. One day, mtanitafuta.
Yeah.
Before that, thank you so much. Enjoy your week and make sure that you're healthy always. Ukishashiba, usisahau roho, usisahau akili.
Yeah.
Bye, guys.
Yeah. Bye bye. Thank you.